The moment we got into his car, after escaping that confrontation, Sage started driving without talking to me. He seemed angry as he steered the wheel. I stayed quiet and tried to calm myself too. Seeing my stepmother and stepsister after a long time made me rethink the choices I had made in the past. I realized that if I had only put my father first before my hatred for his love, things would have ended differently. It would not be this messy. I wouldn't have been like this. He pulled over a building I don't know of. He pulled his phone from his pocket and started talking to someone. Yes, they're in the cemetery. You have to fetch them now. Sage was talking to someone on the phone while I sat on the passenger seat, watching him. His brows are furrowed while his jaw clenched as he spoke to that someone on the phone. He's probably talking to a driver or to someone at their house to pick up his mother from the cemetery. I sat still on the passenger seat while waiting for him to finish. Yes, I had an emergency, I heard Sage say tiredly as he leaned his head on the chair. I took a deep breath and realized that I had to send a message to Chase as well. He was left there without a clue of what happened. I took my phone out and started composing a message when Sage's hand held my hand that's holding the phone. I looked at him as he took my phone away from me and placed it inside his pocket. I narrowed my eyes at him and saw that he's brought the call down too. "You're making me angry, Heaven," he said coldly. I frowned and looked at him, confused. What is he angry about? Is it the fact that he had to leave his mom and his friends just because of me? What? I'm sorry, you didn't have to leave them for me. Why are you with that fucker? He raised his voice. I stopped midway of my sentence because of his sentence. I looked at him, slightly surprised of his point. What? He shut his eyes and shifted in his seat to face me. The moment he opened his eyes, they already sit in mine. "You said you were going to stay home all day," he said in a cold tone. "Then why are you in the cemetery with him?" Although he had calmed a little, I was still slightly astounded. He wasn't angry about me ruining his time with his family. Instead, he's mad because I didn't tell him I was with Chase. Is he the reason why you're not answering my text messages? I shook my head. No, no, no. I shook my head once more. It's not like that. I almost couldn't recognize my soft voice as I tried to explain my actions. No, I can't be like this. Then why? I was rather shocked when I heard that he equaled the softness of my voice with his own version. Baby, I was going insane while I sent you too many messages and you didn't reply. I wanted so badly to go back to your place and check if you're okay. My heart stopped at what he just said. The tone of his voice seemed to have started to melt me inside, that if I heard it one more time, I bet I couldn't even stand on my feet. "I'm sorry." I bit my lip as I looked at my hands on my lap and fiddled on my fingers. I heard him take a deep breath. I felt like I'm trying to push his buttons as he tried to hold himself down. I don't know why, knowing that makes me slightly happy inside. I feel like I have a hold on him. Chase happened to have nothing to do today, so he volunteered to accompany me wherever I would go. I looked at him and saw him attentively looking at me. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you'd be mad." My eyes widened when his hand flew at the back of my neck and pulled me in for a kiss. His eyes were closed as his lips moved against mine. His other hand cupped my face and caressed my cheek. His eyes were still closed as he broke free from the kiss and leaned his forehead against mine. I thought I've reminded you many times enough that you're not allowed to be with anyone else but me. No boys, heaven, only me alone, he said as his nose touched mine. I bit my lip as we stayed that way. His face is too close to me and the only thing that I want to do is to pull him close and kiss him all day. Ah, I can think about this now. Can you imagine how much I wanted to punch that man's face when I saw him walking beside you? I can't, he sighed as he caressed my face. I lifted my eyes to his and energy suddenly drained out of my system as I saw his deep brown eyes staring back at me. I'm sorry, I uttered. He bit his lower lip as his hands went down to my hands. He threaded his fingers with mine as he lifted my hands to his lips to kiss my knuckles. I gulped as I saw his gesture and didn't know what to react. Would I feel anything about this? I shouldn't, right? Because in the first place, we're not actually romantically involved. But damn, the way he's making me feel is too different to be able to hold my sanity down. Next time, if you're going somewhere, call me and not anyone else, he said with a lot of emphasis on anyone else. I wanted to protest and tell him that I did not ask Chase to accompany me but I just nodded. He bit his lip. So, what were you doing there? You're visiting your father? He asked. I inhaled deeply and nodded. Yes, but I actually wanted to visit my parents. He stilled and stared at me intently. I smiled weakly. I realized that I am about to open up to him. My mom died when I was born. I looked at him as his grip on my hands tightened. My nanny told me that it was a big decision between my mom and me. When one is saved, the other one will be gone. I heard him take a deep breath. I'm sorry, he said sadly. I shook my head and smiled as tears started to pull around my eyes. My dad made my mother decide and obviously, she chose to let me live. Dad loved me above all. He showered me with love and care when I was growing up. It was as if he's trying to provide me the love my mother couldn't give me. He was the best, but then I stopped when the sobs came out and the tears started to flow down. Sage wiped the tears falling down my cheeks as I tried to calm down. When I have calmed down, I took a deep breath and continued again. Dad met my stepmother, Josephine. I wasn't against it. In fact, I wanted it. I wanted my dad to love again. I wanted him to feel alive again after losing my mom and after taking care of me all my life. I took another deep breath. She was good at first. Later on, she started to secretly hold my bank accounts or even use my bank accounts in buying her luxuries. Sage's jaw clenched when he heard it. It's as if he's trying to stop himself from blowing up. His grip tightened but I smiled at him. Dad started looking at me negatively and started to favor Josephine and Julia. I don't know if it's because he loved her or because they're trying to make him believe that I am starting to be bad. Sage looked at me. What did you do? I shook my head. I got fed up and left home. I lived in the slums for months but it was better than being at home. I retreated. No, that was more of a rebellion. I chuckled weakly. And then, one day, Nanny Bella told me that my father is sick and the doctors had given him an ultimatum. It turned out that he got a terminal stage of bone cancer. I bit my lip as tears started to threaten to fall again. I swallowed the big lump in my throat. I am so mad at my father that I didn't even visit him when he was sick. I wasn't able to take care of him while he was dying in his bed. And that makes me think that maybe Josephine is right. Maybe I didn't have any right. What kind of daughter would not even visit her dying father, right? Sage shook his head and pulled me into his arms. His hands stroked my back comfortingly. He kept hushing me as I cried in his arms. It hurts. It still hurts no matter how many times I think about it. It's over now. He's gone. Even if I utter a million apologies, I wouldn't be able to hear him say he forgives me. I wouldn't know anything that he's thinking. I wouldn't know anything. I cried nonstop in Sage's arms. I didn't even care if I have been bowling really ugly. I didn't care if he sees me break down like this. The only thing that comforts me now is his soft voice. He kept telling me that it's not my fault, but I really couldn't believe that. Maybe it is not my fault that he got sick, but I didn't have enough guts to come back and take care of him. It is my fault, and I don't have the right to cry like this for him. I disregarded him. It's as if I have disowned the only parent I had known in my life. It's been years, but the feeling still hurts so much. The wound in my heart feels so fresh that I feel like it was only yesterday that I felt this way. Baby, it's not your fault. You were hurt. You had your own issues, Sage whispered softly as he ruffled my hair. I continued to cry in his arms. I don't know how much he would console me. I don't know how much comforting I need to ease the pain. You have me now, heaven. You have me. His words seemed like a temporary intervention for my bleeding wound. I looked at him and he smiled down at me. You're not going to be alone anymore. You have me. He leaned down and gave me a soft kiss on the lips. Always remember that, heaven. You have me. Sage took me home and decided to stay there for the night. I kept telling him that I am fine and I can manage, but he's too stubborn to even listen to me. He said that he could not leave me now, especially not at night. I stood in front of him while he's seated on my couch and was boringly staring at the television. I sighed and sat beside him. What about your mom? She's going to get mad at you for leaving her and her friends in the cemetery, I said in a concerned tone. He looked at me sternly. It doesn't matter if she gets mad. I can't stay there after seeing that you were almost hit by Julia, he replied as he held my hand and placed it on his lap. I looked at him and my heart was beating fast. What is this that I am feeling when I this close to him? We have been even closer before, but I could not remember feeling this way. Right now, he's just holding my hand while looking at me with using his deep set of brown eyes. Thanks, I told him even without knowing the reason as to why I am grateful for him. He leaned closer until our eyes are on the same level. You can depend on me, heaven. I will not allow anyone to hurt you. I almost melted with his words. All of my life, I have only looked up to one man, my dad. It was until he was blindsided by love that I decided that I can stand on my own, without anyone's help or anyone's protection. But right now, looking at Sage, I feel safe. It's as if I've forgotten about my principle of taking care of my own self because of him. It's as if I'm surrendering, not only my body but also my trust. He leaned closer and planted a deep kiss on my lips. I immediately welcomed his tongue as I opened my mouth and let him thrust it inside. His hand raised my jaw while the other traveled to my waist, carrying me so I would sit on his lap, straddling him without breaking the contact of our lips. My hand automatically snaked around his neck while the other feasted on his hair, messing it with every move of his lips on mine. His lips trailed kisses on my jawline, down to my neck, sucking that same spot he used to suck. Fuck, he cursed as I lifted my head so he could lick my neck over and over. Sage, I moaned as I felt his hand cupping my breast. I grunted as the clothes offended me so much. His huge hand continued to cup and massage my cloth bosom. I lifted his face and made him kiss me tenderly as I grinded on his growing member, throbbing against my heated center. I could feel him groaning through the kiss as I continued this instinctive rhythm I am doing. Baby, he grunted as his hands found the hem of my dress and lifted it up, totally removing it from my body. His eyes darted on my chest while lust took over the both of us. He immediately removed my bra and feasted on my breast without a word. I arched my back as I moaned his name over and over while his tongue played with my nipples. Alternately, he massaged my breast and played with them while pleasure started to take a toll on me. He bit his lip as he looked at me. My mind is clouded by my earthly desires. I immediately lifted his shirt off of him and kissed him on the neck. I can feel his hitching breath as I continued to suck his neck, like the way he does to me every time. His hands roamed around my back as he savored what I was doing for him. Baby, I heard him say as I found his nipples. I licked the tattoo on his left chest before sucking on his nipple. My other hand traveled down his perfectly sculptured abdominal muscles, down to his V-line. My hands reached his belt and I unbuckled it. I accidentally grazed his growing member and he growled, "Oh!" I got off him as I unzipped his pants and brought it down, together with his boxers, freeing his raging member. Lust gushed over my system as I saw his fully erected in front of me. I capped the shaft and it was huge. The last time I did this to him, I couldn't even remember he's this big. Is it possible for a man's organ to even grow in a day? I licked and sucked his sacks, making him groan in pleasure. His fingers feasted my hair, while his other hand controlled my head. I licked his shaft from down up before putting it inside my mouth. I let his member slip in and out of my mouth, while his hand helped my head bob. I could not even accommodate half of his in my mouth. He's too huge that I gag every time. But I like it. The sound of his moans makes me want to do this to him over and over again. Ah, heaven! I heard him growl as my head bobbed faster and faster. He cursed out loud before pushing me on the couch. "Fuck, I'm not going to come in your mouth this time," he said as he kissed me tenderly. His hands spread my knees. He carries my inner thigh before finding my clit and massaging it even with my underwear on. I was moaning against his lips as he rubbed my aching body. I was begging for him to remove my panties, but he was too stubborn to even listen to me. Instead, he kissed my neck and continued to rub my throbbing body. I arched my back as I felt knots on my stomach. I moaned and sighed in relief as I came on my underwear. His kisses went down from my neck to my breast, to my stomach, and then to my inner thigh, bypassing my aching need. He kissed my inner thigh while going to my inhale, my cum on my panties. "You always smell so fucking sweet," he muttered before removing my panties finally. "Damn," he cursed as he stared at my core. He immediately delved into my heated center, sucking my clit while he inserted his fingers inside. My orgasm was reset. It's as if I was never satisfied with anything he's done a while ago. "Faster," I commanded as I moved my hips to the rhythm of his fingers. He did what I told him and thrusted his fingers in and out of me in a faster pace while still mouth and tongue played with my clit. "Ah!" I screamed as I felt myself coming on his fingers. He licked my sleek folds before coming up again to kiss me. "You like that?" he asked in a husky and dark voice. "Baby, do you like that?" he asked again. I nodded. "I want more," I whimpered as I felt his erected member rubbing against my throbbing center. "More?" I breathed as he started rubbing his shaft against my needy center. "Like this?" he asked as he rubbed it 3 times. I moaned. I heard him chuckled. "Or do you want me inside you?" Overflowing lust is so evident in his voice. "Please," I cried. He bit his lip as he slowly inserted himself inside me. I grunted as pain came but was immediately replaced by burning desire. I felt him fill me to the brim before moving slowly inside me. He lifted my legs over his shoulder as he moved in and out of me. "Baby, so hot," he muttered as he picked up his pace and started to rub my clit. It seemed to have triggered something in me because I was feeling even more emotions this time. The way his fingers maneuvered my swollen clit made me crazy inside with all this bodily heat and desires. "Yeah, do you like that?" he asked again, almost breathless, as he thrusted so fast inside me. I couldn't answer him with all these emotions stirring up inside me. My mind is in haywire as I felt him hit my sensitive spot over and over again. I felt the knots in my stomach again as I moved with his rhythm. "I'm coming," I managed to blurt out as he fastened his pace. He continued to thrust inside me as I arched my back, convulsing under him. He stopped moving and he removed his member from me. He kissed me tenderly. "I'm not done yet," he told me. I looked at him and saw how he's so serious with his eyes filled with unadulterated lust and desire. "Baby, get on all fours," he commanded as he stood up. I looked at him, confused. He cupped my jaw and kissed me. "I want you to stop feeling anything about the encounter a while back. So I'm going to make you come over and over tonight until you're too tired to think about all the sad things in your life." I stared into his eyes. He seemed sincere and serious, and it's not like his offer is something I could turn down. "Baby, get on all fours. I'd like to take you from the back." His sweet voice is lingering in the hall of my apartment. I bit my lip and did what he told me. I felt him caressing my butt and spreading them out. He uttered a curse as he positioned himself behind me. He licked my dripping hole before inserting his shaft once again. "Do you feel the difference?" he asked. I nodded. It's really different from this position. I feel like he's longer and was into deeper inside. Pleasure surged in me again as I moaned while he filled me to the brim. He slapped my right butt cheek. I winced but moaned when he started moving in and out of me. He repeatedly slapped my butt cheeks, but I could not feel pain. It was pleasure that's taking over as I feel him hitting a different sensitive spot from this position. I could hear him moaning as he held my waist and controlled the movement of my hips. Ah, Sage! I moaned as I felt surge of sensation attack my stomach. I dropped my head and upper body on the couch while Sage continued to take me from behind. He was panting and moaning as I take him wholly from where he wanted. It took him several more thrusts until I felt him convulsing behind me, together with me. Our bodies collapsed on the couch as our juices mixed inside me. He hugged me from behind and kissed my left ear. "This is probably the best I've ever had with you," he uttered softly. I could not answer him because I was busy catching my breath. "Let me clean you." He planted a kiss on my shoulder before getting out of the couch to do what he wanted again. I let him take over. Perhaps I wanted him to take over me all the time. Mr. Black is asking for the summary report of all the expenses from the previous month, I told Marie, the head of the finance department. Sage did not ask me to get the summary report. I believe he forgot about it, but I remembered. So here I am. Ever since knowing my history, Sage's treatment on me has changed. He has been constantly asking me what I want to eat, what I want to drink, what I want to do, and all the other stuff. At first, I told him that he shouldn't treat me like that just because I am an orphan. I have lived a good life on my own, and that's probably what I am so proud of. Marie looked at me and smiled. "Wait for a while, Miss Campbell," she said as she printed something. I stood in front of her desk and waited for her to finish. It took me about 5 minutes. My phone vibrated from my pocket. From Mr. Black. "Where are you?" I typed in a reply to Mr. Black. "Finance Dep. I'm getting the last month's summary report." I pressed send and placed the phone back in my pocket. This is another thing. He keeps on texting me, even when he's in a meeting. He's always asking me what I am doing or where I am. It's not that I am complaining, but he's been giving me too much attention these past few days that I feel like I need to distance a bit. My co-employees have been noticing it, and it makes uncomfortable at work. "Good morning, Mr. Black." I heard one of the people in the room greet in enthusiasm. I pursed my lips in a thin line and looked at the entrance of the room. There I saw Sage wearing his signatured all-black three-piece suit, walking so fluidly as he approached me. He stared at me with his brown eyes and I bit my lip before looking back at Marie. I can sense the people looking at us and it's making me nervous. What if they knew about us? I don't know what I would do. I felt his presence from behind me. His manly scent attacked my nose and I can also see Marie stiffen. She seemed timid, but the way Sage affected her made me think that she also is one of those who are admiring Sage. "Good morning, Miss Peters. Are you done with the reports?" Sage asked. I moved a bit farther from him. I glanced at him and noticed that he knew what I was doing. He raised his brow. I rolled my eyes and looked away. I have already told him about the insecurities of other people at work. All of them probably have me as the talk of the town. It's not that it bothers me a lot. It just makes me uncomfortable to work with people who I know are talking a lot of things about me behind my back. Marie stood up and gave Sage a folder. "It's probably the summary report." "Here it is, sir," she said sweetly. I raised my brow as I saw Sage smile at her. "Thank you," he curtly said before looking at me. "Let's go, Miss Campbell?" he asked formally. I nodded normally, aware of all the eyes on us right now. I followed Sage thereafter as we left the whole finance department. I can hear some of the female employees giggled at how handsome Sage is today. For a moment, I didn't want to hear them ogling at Sage. For a moment, I was affected. I took a deep breath as we both stood in front of the elevator. He's holding the folder on his left hand while he stood on my left. I didn't speak. I don't know if I was allowed to speak to him so publicly in the office. In the duration of my stay in here, I only talk to him in public when I am asking questions about a task or if I'm informing him for his schedule of the day. Other than that, my words are reserved for our private moments. "Have you eaten?" he asked as the elevator came on. No one is in the elevator. We went inside and I waited for the door to close before nodding. He laced his fingers with mine as he leaned on the elevator. "I'm tired," he said as he closed his eyes. I looked at him and saw him closing his eyes. I observed his godlike features and I am not disappointed. His lashes are so long and his eyebrows are thick in an attractive way that make his eyes stand out. His perfectly tall nose is also flawless. And even with some stubbles growing on his perfectly chiseled jaw, he looks so damn attractive. I couldn't find any GQ model who could match his handsome features. "You have been in a meeting the whole night?" I asked as if I didn't know. He opened his eyes and pulled me closer to him. My eyes widened at his sudden move, but he seemed unaffected because he pulled me to the point that my body collided with his. His arm is wrapped around my shoulder as he hugged me. "I haven't been able to sleep without you by my side," he whispered in his husky voice. My heart beat erratically as he looked into my eyes. His gaze was too serious that it shook my whole senses. My system was almost shutting down when the elevator door opened, signaling that we're on the right floor. He planted a quick kiss on my forehead before leading me out of the lift. He didn't let go of my hand as we walked towards my desk. "I'll transfer your desk inside my office," he told me. I looked at him with narrowed eyes. "Why?" He bit his lip. "I just want to see you as I work," he replied. I narrowed my eyes at him still. "Why?" "I wouldn't be able to work if that happens." His index finger traced my jaw. "Because looking at you relieves my stress," he replied. I froze as I fixed my eyes on his. My mind is starting to shut down once more as I let his eyes control every fiber in my body. I bit my lip and started to look down, but he lifted my chin, making me face him again. I frowned at him. "You can't do this to me, Sage. We're at work." He smirked. "So when we're not at work, can I do this?" he asked philosophically. I made a face at him. If the people here knew what's going on between us, they'll learn to deal with it because I am the boss, and if they don't, I can fire them," he said in a bored tone. I frowned at him once more. "You can't do that." "I can," he insisted. "You can't," I reiterated. "I don't want other people losing their jobs because of me." He put the folder down my desk and snaked his arms around my waist. He pulled me closer to him and looked down at me. "If they try to hurt you, I will," he said in a tone void of any humor. "They won't," I replied. He smiled and leaned his forehead over mine. "We'll see," he said in a husky tone. It's as if hot water was poured onto my heart as it melted with his voice. He's never been this close to me in the office. He always made sure that we had distance before. So right now, I don't know what's going on in his mind. "Come inside with me," he said with a voice so affectionate, making it so hard to say no. I nodded and let him lead me inside his office. He locked the door and leaned me onto it, automatically attacking my lips with his. His hands are on either of my sides, trapping me so I wouldn't escape. But even without doing so, I won't escape. How can I escape from him? I wouldn't know. I couldn't dare. "Sage." I tried to stop him, but it sounded like a moan. "2 days and I've missed you so bad," he told me before thrusting his tongue inside my small cavern. Delirious, I snaked my arms around his neck and feasted on his hair using my fingers. His mouth hungrily owned mine as his hand traveled on my inner thigh. I moaned when his finger touched my wetness. "We're just kissing but you're already dripping," he told me as he inserted his fingers inside my panties, feeling my already soaked core. "Sage," I gasped when he inserted 2 fingers on my aching hole. He kissed my neck as he thrusted his fingers in and out of me. He moved in and out faster and faster, making me moan in the building pleasure inside me. "Oh," I whimpered as I reached my peak and came on his bare fingers. Sage attacked my lips once more as he massaged my moan. He continued to knead my swollen and throbbing moan while his other hand removed his belt. He brought my panties down before rubbing his hard member on my wetness. He rubbed it several more times before I heard him groan. He carried me by the butt, making me straddle him. I could feel his slowly feeling me in as he continued to groan. "I missed you," he said as he slowly grinded in and out of me while kissing me so passionately that it makes me go out of my mind. "I think it would be beneficial for the project if Architect Keller works on it. His designs match what the client wants. And I think the timetable would also fit him because of his skill to finish fast." I don't know why Sage brought me into this meeting. He told me a while back that this meeting would be about the construction of a mall in New York. It's going to probably be the biggest project of the year for him and his company. Sage listened to Mr. Roy, who is explaining the plan for the details of the interior of the mall. He's going to be in charge on site, but he's suggesting that we should get Architect Keller for this. I don't know who he is exactly, but basing from the way Mr. Roy speaks, Architect Keller seems to be a really renowned and trusted architect. Mr. Roy handed Sage the sketch of the possible designs. Sage browsed the sketches and they all seemed sophisticated. Anyone who would look into the sketches would imagine looking into the art of the Renaissance. Sophisticated, classy, and elegant. Sage's brows are furrowed as he examined the sketches. He's focusing, as if trying to find the rights and wrongs in it. He glanced at me and he smiled curtly. I looked away, aware of all the eyes looking at us. Mr. Roy cleared his throat, making Sage look at him. He continued what he was talking about while Sage concentrated on the sketches on his hands. Sage placed the folder on the table and sighed. "The sketches are good, but I want to review all this first before I give my final say." He started making Mr. Roy swallowed as he looked at Sage. "I am in favor of Mr. Keller to be the architect, but I need more names for me to choose wisely." Every move of his mouth made me realize how heavenly they taste. It's as if his lips are calling me to kiss him every time he talks so seriously. No, heaven, stop focusing on the trivial things. I took a deep breath and watched the whole exchange between Mr. Roy and Sage. They seemed to be so engrossed in whatever they are talking about, and they were only interrupted by a phone call. Mr. Roy excused himself as he answered the call outside the conference. Sage looked at me and leaned closer. "Do you like the designs?" he asked. I looked at him, trying to find an answer as to why he is asking me things about the sketches. It's not like my opinion matters anyway. "Why are you asking me?" "They all look good," I replied. "The board members who were left inside the room with us are talking to each other while Sage is looking at me intently." He placed his hand on my thigh and gently squeezed it. My eyes widened and looked at everyone in the room. I sighed in relief when I saw that they are all busy in their own worlds to even bother looking at us. Sage smirked at me. "I saw how you look at the buildings. Maybe you have an eye for wonderful designs," he said softly. I bit my lip and pursed my lips in a thin line. I shook my head. "I don't think I am a person who you can ask for opinions," I told him. He raised his brow and gently squeezed my thigh again. I almost moaned with the sensation. "Why, Miss Campbell?" he asked. "I personally think that you have one of the brightest opinions in this room." I narrowed my eyes at him. Why would he say that here? What if someone hears him? It's not like the way he said those words are formal enough. His voice was too sweet. He couldn't that. No, he couldn't do that here. "Mr. Black." Mr. Roy came in. "I got a call from your mother. She's saying that Miss Josephine Campbell is going to check the designs as well because their company is one of the highest stockholders for the project." I froze and looked at Mr. Roy. I bit my lip and looked down on my fingers. I'm fiddling on my lap. Josephine Campbell is one of the biggest stockholders for the new project. She's using my dad's company to be able to rise above all the rest. And she's even venturing on other fields now. I hope the chain is fine. After all, it's my dad's blood and sweat. I heard Sage inhale a sharp breath. He knew my stepmother. He knew about my history with them. "I'm going to talk to my mother about this," he said in a cold tone. Mr. Roy nodded reluctantly. It's as if he's trying to read the situation, but then, when he couldn't, he just nodded at Sage and went back to his seat. Sage stood up, making all the board members to look at him. "The meeting is adjourned. I'm going to release a statement soon. I'll make sure to give you all a copy of my plans," he said before walking straight out of conference room. I immediately followed him. He walked straight to the elevator. He waited for me before closing the door and clicking the topmost floor. I didn't speak. I don't know if I should. This is his company, and if my stepmother's going to help him with his new project, then it's not something I should butt in. My family history is not something he should dwell upon. And now, I regret telling him about my family. The elevator opened and we walked out together. I darted straight to my desk without looking at him. He stopped near my desk. I tried to ignore him and started arranging the folders I will have him to sign. He walked towards me and stopped behind my back. My heart suddenly jumps as he slowly hugged me from the back, leaning his chin on my shoulder. I inhaled a sharp breath as I felt him breathing through my bare neck. He clutched his arms on my stomach and hugged me even tighter. "I'm sorry," he uttered in a sweet tone. I tried to look at him but failed when he pushed his face closer to my neck. "What are you sorry about?" I asked. He breathed once more on my neck. "For your stepmother. I shouldn't have let my mother decide on that new project before," he replied so softly that I feel like he's treating me so delicately. I smiled weakly and held his clutched hands on my stomach. I removed his hands and faced him while threading my fingers with his. "You don't have to apologize for that," I said as I claimed his gaze. I bit my lip in shame. How can I even look into his perfect set of brown eyes? I can't believe he's driving me insane with his stare alone. My family history is mine. You have nothing to do with that, so do not apologize, I told him. This is your company and you have to do whatever you can to let it grow. It's fine with me. And besides, this is your mother's decision. We have to respect it. I have to respect it. He narrowed his eyes at me. He removed his right hand from my grip and caressed my cheek. I still apologize. I know how your stepmother hurts your heart, and my company is the reason, right? I stopped him with a deep kiss. My right hand flew to his chiseled jaw, tracing its perfection. I moved my lips against his mouth, trying to own his like how he does with me all the time. I sucked on his lower lip as I caressed his face. His stubble somehow tickled me, but I love the feeling it gives me. When he responded to my kisses, I felt like I could fly. His tongue danced with mine as we engrossed in our kisses. I felt his free hand caress my waist. He pulled me closer to his body, making me feel the heat he usually provides me. His tongue swiped my lower lip and sucked on it while I moaned through the kiss. He broke the kiss and leaned his forehead on mine. "I don't want anyone hurting you," he whispered. I bit my lip as my heart started picking up its pace again. I love how he seemed so reliable. I love how he seemed to protect me at all times. But then, when I start to remember how we started, I am reminded of how different we are. I am reminded that all this between us is lust. It's all physical and earthly desires. I promise you that no one will hurt you once you're with me. No one will touch you. No one will make you cry. I promise that. "Heaven, I promise," he repeated while caressing my cheeks with both of his thumbs. Sage drove me home. He also told me that he'll stay the night. It's not actually a big deal for me, but he's been staying in for 3 consecutive nights. I am worried that his place is so lonely without him. He sat on my couch. "Can you come over my place tomorrow night?" he asked. I looked at him with narrowed eyes. "You're asking me to sleep with you?" I asked back as I walked to the kitchen to prepare our dinner. I heard him chuckle. "Baby, don't act like we haven't actually slept together. We do it all the time," he said while flipping on the channels of the television. I rolled my eyes as I looked out the ingredients of the chicken curry. "Not tonight, though," I told him. I looked at him, anticipating for his reaction, and I am satisfied to see him looking at me with narrowed eyes. It's as if I told him something he didn't want. "What? Why?" I smiled to myself. "I am on my period," I replied as I got back to preparing the ingredients. He pursed his lips in a thin line while he walked towards me again. "What are you going to cook?" he asked. "Chicken curry." He walked to my side. For once, I thought he's going to help me, but then he slipped his hand on my waist and pulled me closer to his body. "Sage, I scolded him as the potatoes slipped from my hands because of the impact of his pull. He rested his nose on my hair, sniffing my scent. "You smell so good, even after a day at work," he uttered, ruffling my hair. "That's because all I did today was sit on your lap while you read reports," I reminded him. I heard him chuckle and I sighed while trying to move from his grip. But then, he seemed to be so stoic that he didn't let me do what I wanted. "That's because having you near me clears my head. It makes me concentrate more," he replied while planting a kiss on my temple. I looked at him and found him staring me intently. There was no hint of humor in his voice or in his face. Instead, he pulled me in for a passionate kiss. "Do you realize how you affect me so much, huh? Heaven and Jillian Campbell?" he asked me with his husky voice, making me so stunned that I am flabbergasted. Sage was cuddling me on the couch. To be honest, I love it when he's holding me in his arms. His scent makes me forget about everything that worries me. "Have you reviewed your new project?" I asked. He looked at me and nodded. "I'm done with it. Why are you asking me?" He planted a kiss on my cheek as he hugged me tighter. I bit my lip and looked at him. I don't know architect Keller personally, but I think I've heard his name before. Sage narrowed his eyes on me. "Where have you heard his name?" he asked coldly. I looked at him and saw his furrowed brows. Damn, even when he looked mad, he is still so handsome. How can a guy as handsome as he be this close to me? I don't know if I'm worthy of even looking into his handsome face. Well, now that I think of it, I think I've read his name over a magazine or a newspaper. Like he's a renowned architect who built something beneficial to the government. I don't remember, but the point is, I think he is good for your project, I told him. He rolled his eyes. This, you don't even know him. Why do you think he's good for that darn building?" he muttered under his breath, but I caught every word of his. I hit his chest slightly. "Hey, don't be jealous," I told him playfully. He stared at me with his brown eyes with something unknown. It made me stop laughing. He slid his palm from my waist to my thigh. I almost shivered in the tingles it brought me. "Then stop talking about other guys in front of me," he said in a husky voice as he leaned closer to my face, crushing his lips on mine for a hot and searing kiss. My hands got buried in his bare chest as his tongue swiped my lower lip. I moaned through the kiss as he nibbled on my lower lip. His lips maneuvered on mine like it is trying to mark his territory down. His lips expertly moved against mine as his kiss deepened. He hovered on top of me without breaking the kiss. He continued marking me his territory as he thrusted his tongue inside my mouth. I moaned as he continuously plunged his tongue inside my small cavern. I was about lost my mind when he broke the kiss to answer his phone that's been ringing for God knows how long. He stood up to get his phone from the dining table. I frowned as I watched his topless back as he placed his phone to his ear. His back muscle flexed with every move he made. I couldn't help but adore the view that he's giving me right now. It could be a granted wish from an ordinary woman. "Mom," Sage said as he spoke on the phone. "I'm not at home." "No, I don't think I can come now. But, no. Alright, I'll be there." He heaved a deep sigh as he placed his phone down. He turned around and looked at me. I sat up and looked at him as he started putting his clothes on. "You're leaving?" I asked. He looked at me and nodded. "I have to meet my mother for a dinner." "So, he's not going to eat with me tonight?" I felt a little disappointed, but I don't want to voice it out. After all, it's his mother. Family comes first. "Sure," I breathed. "Have a good dinner." I wanted to sound happy, but I felt like I did otherwise. Sage looked at me and sighed before walking closer to me. He knelt in front of me before cupping my cheeks, brushing his thumbs against them. "I'll be back after," he said in a very soft voice. I bit my lip and I felt little guilty. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't be disappointed on whatever he's decided. I shouldn't compete with anyone in his life. I smiled and shook my head. I should stop my heart from feeling this way. I should stop my heart from beating this fast. "No, it's alright. You're having dinner with your mother." This time, I did my best to sound really happy. I smiled widely. I don't want him thinking of me as a clingy secretary. I don't want him to think of me as a... My eyes widened when he kissed me passionately once again. He savored my lips before breaking away. "I will be back," he said, and like magic, all my disappointment got away. I waited for him for more than 4 hours. I read magazines as I waited for time to pass. But then, it was already midnight and Sage didn't come back. I guess he's decided to spend more time with his family. The next day, I am on my laptop in the office, browsing for some good schools for college. I hadn't seen Sage since I came here, and he didn't send me anything since last night. No word or any text. I didn't know what I should do today since I finished arranging Sage's schedule for the whole week. So, I decided to look for schools with a good faculty of architecture. I guess reading those home and living magazines made my interest in houses come back. When I finished high school, all I could think about is to work for my daily living. I passed my GED and started working for a living. But I think now I want to pursue college. I want to be an architect. I have loved buildings and huge houses since I was a kid. I have a set of sketchbooks full of houses and buildings. My father once told me that I would be the greatest architect and he'd like to see me be one. I might have forgotten it when I left home, but I know that he wanted me to become a successful architect someday. Maybe I can be one. I have a good paying job now. I can afford the tuition fee because I have saved some money from my current and previous job. I felt someone's arms around my waist and I immediately closed the whole browser. I looked at my shoulder and saw Sage's face. I wanted to frown at him. He didn't even send me a message last night. I waited until 2 in the morning. But then, it's not like he's going to keep all his promises to me. And it's not like he's going to choose me over his mother. What am I even thinking? "I'm sorry," he said softly as he planted a soft kiss on my earlobe. I gulped and smiled. "You don't have to apologize. I slept early as well. Even if you came back, you won't be able to come inside." Sage looked at me like he didn't believe me. I wanted to look away, but doing so well made me lose this, so I stared back at him, putting all my insecurities at the back of my head. "What are you looking at?" he asked, pertaining to the laptop's screen. I smiled at him nervously. I haven't told him any of my plans. I didn't think he had to know, but I don't know why I feel so guilty not telling him. Or is it only when his face is this close to mine? "Nothing." I bit my lip. "Just some colleges," I trailed. Sage eyebrow arch. He turned my swivel chair, making my whole body face him. "Some colleges? He said as he cupped my cheek. "Do you plan on going to college?" he asked. I nodded reluctantly. I wanted to tell him about my plans, but I don't know if it would matter. After all, it's not like everything about us is serious and personal. This is pure business. He bit his lip. "You're looking for a good school?" he said, and I nodded. "What are you planning to take up?" My heart slammed against my chest. The answer is simple, but why do I feel so embarrassed in telling him what I am going to take up? Is it because it's architecture and he's the CEO of one of the biggest construction companies in Illinois? Or is it because architecture? I replied. He looked at me interestedly. "Architecture, I see," he said as he tucked the loose strands of my hair behind my ear. "How about Universities of Illinois?" he suggested. I smiled weakly. "I don't know if I could get in," I replied. "I know someone from the College of Architecture. I can refer you." I shook my head. "No, you don't have to do that." "I don't want you to do that," I said. "I don't want to ask for his help." Maybe this is the reason why I don't want to tell him about this in the first place. Somehow, I knew he'd be insisting his help, but I don't need that. I want to get in because of my ability and not because of the sage Otheus Black. And besides, who am I to him? "Baby, I can help. Please let's not fight about this, Sage. I want to do it on my own," I told him. He looked at me with confusion so evident on his face. He looked so offended, but I don't want to blurt it out to his face. I want him to understand that this decision of mine is for me. I don't want him to bother him about it. He wet his lower lip before sighing deeply. "Fine," he resigned, "but I know he has something in his mind." "I will pay for my school fees." I narrowed my eyes at him. He pursed his lips in a thin line as if I'd read what he was thinking. He sighed once more and raised his hands in surrender. "Fine, whatever you want, baby." I pouted at him. He smiled at me before pulling me into a hug. He planted a kiss on my head. "But if you need my help, just say the word." I bit my lip as my heart was almost melting as he enveloped me in his warm embrace. I don't know if it's alright to feel this way, but I couldn't help it. Being with him makes me feel so protected. It's as if no one will hurt me. The elevator door opened and I jumped out of his embrace. I stood up beside Sage as we both looked at the direction of the elevator. Mrs. Black walked in together with my stepmother and stepsister. They looked at us with confused and questioning eyes. Sage stood in front of me as his mother approached us. "Well, I'm pleased to see you, son," Mrs. Black chimed before looking at me with a raised brow. Good morning to your secretary as well. I bit my lip and looked down as I heard my stepmother and stepsisters cough when Mrs. Black called me secretary. I can see Sage's jaw clench as his mother spoke. "What are you doing here, Mom?" Sage asked, seemingly not happy that they are here now. Mrs. Black raised his brow. "I just want your fiancé to see your office. Julia is so stoked to come to your office, son. She's been so happy since you drove her home last night." Her smile was so wide that I find it scary. "I wish you'd be hospitable enough to show her your place," she added. I bit my lip as I saw Julia smirk at me. "So, this is why Sage didn't come back last night." Ah! My heart is clenching as I watch Sage accompany Julia and Mrs. Black inside his office. Josephine walked towards me with her eyebrows arched. "They are engaged," she started and smiled wickedly. I clenched my jaw and tried to stay calm. "So what if they're engaged? It's not like I should be upset over something. Nothing is going on between me and Sage. If ever, it's my heart that wavered when he says he'll protect me against all of the things and people that hurt me. It's my heart that's swayed by the sweet things he told me. But my head knows what's right. There's nothing going on between us. This is pure lust, pure desires. Congratulations!" I shrugged as I motioned to go back to my desk. Josephine laughed. "You're acting all tough now. Why is that?" she said. That made me look at her again. "Do you think that Sage will leave my daughter for," she trailed, "a mere moneyless secretary?" I looked at her eyes with my anger dripping like acid in my throat. "Oh, did you feel that way when my dad chose to marry a moneyless secretary like you?" Josephine gasped and glared at me. I can see that she's clenching her teeth as she stared at me, full of hatred. "How dare you?" "How dare I?" I cut her off. "How dare I what, stepmother? How dare I show up, or how dare I point out the truth?" Her face turned even more sour. It's as if I'd stated something she didn't want to hear ever. I can see how she's trying to contain all her anger down with the way her veins protrude in her neck. "Are you having fun with all of my father's money? Are you buying all your luxuries?" I said mockingly. "Or are you getting poorer that you needed to arrange a business marriage for your daughter?" "You!" she screamed as she swung her palm on me, slapping me so hard that it echoed in the whole floor. Suddenly, the door of Sage's office opened. Mrs. Black, Julia, and Sage came out running. "What is happening?" Sage's thunderous growl was heard. I scoffed and looked at my stepmother again. She's still fuming mad. She's panting and glaring at me at the same time. "You are an ungrateful brat. You left your father when he was on his deathbed because you couldn't accept that he married me. And now you're talking like you're the saint here? You're not Saint Heaven. You are the demon of this family." Her word shot a million bullets to my heart. I am hurt that someone is so evil like her. I don't even have any words for that. She's a devil dressed in designer clothes. She's a devil acting like a good wife to my father. "No, Mrs. Campbell," Sage yelled at her as he walked towards me. Julia and Mrs. Black ran to Josephine and tried to calm her down. I can see Julia's sharp looks at me and I could almost laugh. "Don't get close to that brat, Sage. She's a two-faced bitch, Julia warned Sage. Sage looked at me, confused and questioning. It's as if he's asking me to tell him that they're wrong. But I couldn't. I don't want to clear my reputation to people who have dirtier reputation that I am. I don't think you know what you're talking about. Are you talking about your mother? I asked Julia sarcastically. I can see Mrs. Black's offended look as I insulted her best friend in front of her. Get out of here, she yelled at me. Mom, Sage countered in warning. Mrs. Black looked at her son with disbelief written in her face. Sage, you cannot side with your secretary. She's slandering Josephine, your fiance's mother. Please stop this, Sage yelled back. You can't side with her just because you're free to bed her every time you want. She's your slut. You won't get anything from a slut. Stop it, mother, or I swear. I chuckled weakly and shook my head. They all looked at me like I'm a crazy girl. Mrs. Black might be right. I am Sage slut. He could take me anywhere, anytime. I'm not beneficial to him. I'm not going to give him anything good in his career. Right, Mrs. Black? I am his slut. I will not contribute to his successes. I will not become someone he'll be proud of. After all, according to my stepmother, I am a moneyless secretary. I looked at each one of them, proud of myself for being this strong in front of overwhelming odds. Sage gulped as I smiled at him. I turned back to Mrs. Black. But you know what, Mrs. Black? I could leave your son anytime I want. I can find someone else in a blink of an eye. I don't have to arrange my own daughter a business marriage to be able to find a guy who will like me. I looked Josephine and Julia. Just a little advice for you, Mrs. Black. These women were the downfall of my father. How do you know your son's not next? Julia lunged at me to hurt me, but Josephine held onto her. Bitch, she screamed at me. I smiled at her mockingly before walking to my desk and took my things. That's right. Leave and don't come back. Josephine yelled at me as they all watched me get my things. I looked at Sage and saw that speechless he is. I'll email you my resignation letter, Mr. Black. I apologize for the pain I'll cause you, I said as a lump is forming in my throat. My heart feels like it is getting suffocated by a million hands trying to squeeze it. Tears are forming at the sides of my eyes. I feel like I'm leaving home again, but this time, I know it's because of the right reasons. It is not because I hate Sage. It's because I want him to be free. I want him to choose wisely. I want him to be successful. He couldn't do that if both Julia and I are in his life. So, I'd take initiative and be the one to leave. Mrs. Black looked at me with ambiguous eyes. I took a deep breath before walking towards the elevator. Heaven! I can hear Sage's voice behind me. I pushed the button and ignored him. Please don't do this. He sounded so desperate and pleading. I shut my eyes and tried to calm my beating heart. I lost now, I know. I've let myself fall for him. I've let my heart take over all of my senses. But this has got to end before it even starts. I have to leave before it gets even more complicated. Before I could not leave him anymore. I'll go crazy if you leave, he said so softly that it breaks my whole heart. The lift opened and I got in. I turned around and faced him. He's just standing there, staring at me while the elevator door shuts in between us. Sobs slowly came out of my mouth as I was alone inside the elevator. The look in his face will surely haunt me every night from this moment on. The desperation and sadness in his eyes will always make me feel guilty for this. But I needed to do this. Sooner or later, he's going to move on from me. Sooner or later, he'll be fine, and I'll be happy to see him successful in his career. I love you, Mr. Black, I uttered as tears started to stream down my face. He may not be able to know it in his lifetime. I might not be able to say it to his face, but I'm happy. I'm happy that for once in my life, I've met someone like him. I'm happy that I was able to love Sage Otius Black. I'm happy to have given my everything to him. I cannot think of anyone more worthy of him to give up my whole being to. I asked the cab to take me to the cemetery. There's nowhere in the world that would comfort me more than being with my mother. Pain sliced through me with every step that I took away from the Black Realty building. Perhaps the place has been very memorable to me. I walked towards my mother's grave when I saw someone standing over there. He's wearing a suit while holding an attache case. I cleared my throat when I have finally approached him. "Who are you?" I asked the man standing beside my mom's grave. He looked at me, shocked. He's wearing a pair of eyeglasses. From what I see, I believe that he's in his 40s. "I am Attorney Mendez," he said. "Are you Heaven?" I narrowed my eyes at him. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He pursed his lips in a thin line before smiling at me. "Finally, I have found you, Heaven," he said in pure relief. "I have been waiting for you to show up for a long time. I am your mother's cousin." My eyes widened in disbelief. He took an ID inside his pocket and showed it to me. "Henderson Mendez." That's what it said. "For years, I have been looking for you. I even went to your father's house, but they said that you left home." I stared at him, unable to process and understand his point. "Why are you looking for me, sir?" He smiled wildly. "I was looking for you because I wanted to discuss the trust fund your mother has left you." My jaw dropped literally. My mother left something for me? Attorney Mendez invited me to a cafe to discuss the will of my mother for me. I agreed to have a talk with him in order for me to lose all the doubts and worries in my head. "These are the papers you have to sign to officially get your trust fund." Attorney Mendez handed a thick folder full of papers. I opened the folder and read the statements on the paper. It said that the moment I turn 23, I will be able to get a hold of my trust fund amounting to 1.8 million US dollars. My eyes widened and I read the previous statement over and over again. 1.8 million? Is this real? I looked at Attorney Mendez, who's staring at me with such affectionate eyes. "Is this true?" I asked in disbelief. He smiled and nodded. "That's actually some of Angelina's trust fund from our grandfather. But she left some for you because she thought you might need it in the future." My jaw literally dropped at what he uttered. "So this is just a portion of my mother's trust fund? She had more? How sick is this? I cleared my throat and tried to collect my cool. No offense meant, sir, but how come I have this money? I trailed. He smiled and nodded. I understand that you are a little confused right now. You grew up without knowing your mother's side. That's because your parents eloped before. We cut ties with Angelina the moment she married your father, he said. But now that we're so much aware that you are here, alive, and of legal age, we want to give you what you deserve. We want to give you what's rightfully yours. I stared at him, like I'm looking at a father who's longing for his lost child. He said he's my mother's cousin. So, that means he's my uncle? I felt like a warm hand is holding my hand as I stared at him. His family. He's my family. When I thought I am alone, he's here, coming to me and happily welcoming me. What would happen to the trust fund if you did not find me? I asked. He pursed his lips in a thin line. Your mother wants it to be donated to an orphanage. I nodded. That would also be nice, I uttered. Attorney smiled at me. If you don't mind me asking, may I know where you have been all these years? I've tried looking around for you but I got no data of your whereabouts. I smiled weakly. Now that he's asking me, I think I need to tell him my whole story. And so I did. I told him how I left home because Dad found a new woman to love who intoxicated his judgments. I told him what I did when I left home. I basically told him everything. And it felt so nice. It's as nice as when I opened up to Sage. It's nice because he's family. It's nice because he knew my mother. I can see how emphatic he is as he listened to my story all ears and eyes. I even told him about my job at the Black Realty and that I had resigned earlier. I don't know if I should be doing this but it felt good to have a family who I can confide to. I didn't know your life was toxic. If I had known, I would have. His voice trailed as I smiled at him. I'm fine now, sir. I have successfully passed the toxic phase of my life. I said on a positive note. I am planning on going to college. Attorney looked at me. I can see that he is concerned with the way his eyes stared at me. You have cousins, Heaven. You can meet them. They are all dying to meet you. He smiled. I looked at him, touched and happy. He wanted me to meet more of my family from their side. I want to, but I don't think I can meet them now. All of this is overwhelming me. I don't think I can take them all in with one shot. Attorney looked surprised but then he smiled. I understand. This is too much for you to take in. I bit my lip, but I want to meet them in the future when I have adjusted to this truth. I didn't know I had any other relatives from my mother's side. I think the reason that my parents eloped and my mom left her family for my dad is the reason. Attorney smiled. He also began discussing the steps on how I would claim my trust fund. He said it's a good investment that I am willing to go to college. I can use the trust fund for my education. He's right. I am going to use my trust fund to get into a good college. I have a list of schools with good faculties of architecture. I can give it to you the next time we met, he said. I smiled and nodded. Thank you, attorney. I really appreciate it, I replied. Please drop the formalities. You can call me uncle. I smiled even wider. The feeling of being welcome in a person's life is astounding. I want to cry in front of him. I haven't felt this feeling in a while. Thank you, Uncle. Attorney smiled at me. We have been very excited to meet you, Heaven. You are not alone now. You have me. You have all of us. I nodded and smiled as tears started to form at the sides of my eyes. I walked home with a calm heart. For a moment, I have forgotten the fact that I resigned from Black Realty. I have forgotten how I left Sage in there by the elevator with pitiful eyes. But then, it was only for a while. When attorney left, I was confronted by the truth that I left Sage. I left the man who gave me the feeling of being protected and safe. I left the man who made me feel that I am not alone. I left the man who I love. I pulled out my phone in my pocket. I bit my lip when I saw the messages sent by Sage to me. He even called me more than 40 times. From Mr. Black. You are not serious, Heaven. From Mr. Black. You cannot leave me, please. From Mr. Black. I'd give you everything you need. Just please don't walk away from my life. From Mr. Black. Baby. There are a lot more but I decided to not read them all. My heart clenches every moment I read a word from his messages. I feel suffocated from all the pain that I am feeling. I remember the time when I left home. It hurt me. I cried the whole time I was walking. I cried the whole time I was in the dark. I cried to fall asleep at night. But the reason is the opposite of what I walked away now. Before, I left because of hatred and remorse with my father. But right now, I left Sage because I love him. And if I don't do this, I would fall deeper into love's trap that would destroy both of us. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be the reason of his downfall. I stopped when I arrived at my apartment building. My heart almost leaped out of my chest when I saw Sage, leaning on his Range Rover while waiting for me. He turned his head towards my way. His eyes widened and immediately took long strides towards me. He seemed in panic. He seemed worried. He held my shoulders and I looked away. Where have you been? Opposite to what I was thinking. His voice was soft and caring. It's as if he's treating me like a delicate glass that's easily broken. I bit my lip hard and refused to look at him. The cemetery, I replied. I heard him have a sigh of relief. You were not replying to my text. I thought you were in danger or something. His sweet voice trailed. I swallowed a forming lump in my throat. I went to see my mom. I don't know why I am so defenseless when it comes to him. I'm sorry, he said, making me look at him. About my mother. I wet my lips and nodded. It's okay, she's your mother, I told him. And you're engaged to Julia. You should stop coming over. I'm not going to leave you for her, he said, this time with finality. I looked into his deep brown eyes and noticed no ounce of humor in them. Your mother wants you to marry Julia, I told him calmly. I don't want you breaking orders for me. Who am I to you that you'll choose me over Julia? I want to ask him that, but I was afraid I couldn't handle his answer. His stare hardened, his jaw clenched, his eyebrows furrowed. I am not going to marry someone I don't love. My heart started to pick up its pace when I heard his words. You're not going to marry me either. I'm your slut. Bitterness dripped like acid in my voice. Sage cupped my face and caressed my cheeks, making me look at him. I have been closer to him before. I have done a lot of intimate things with him, but never had I ever felt this nervous and dazed. It's like my heart is going to pound on my chest until it breaks. It's crazy. You are not my slut, he said those words with emphasis on each word. You have never been. You are not going to be. I stared at him, gulping down the anxiety to my gut. I have never felt this way before, Heaven. So please, don't leave me. He sounded so desperate. He sounded so fragile. I smiled at him. I don't think I can handle being with you and my stepmother at the same time. I shook my head. Give me some time, Sage. I need my time to be alone. Have you seen the plates I gave you, architect? David asked me as he entered my office. He is wearing his usual black button-up shirt, tucked in his black slacks. The first three buttons of his top are undone. He smirked at me when he saw me looking at him. Are you listening to me, architect? He said in his cocky tone. I pursed my lips in a thin line. Yes, I reviewed them last night. I have a few comments on the terrace. I think it will be better to discuss it with the engineers later in the meeting. He nodded and pulled the chair in front of my table. He's so shameless. He's been bugging me since I was appointed as the head of the construction design of this project by the firm. Or I could say that he is trying to lure me in, as if I would. Anyway, are you free for dinner? He asked again. I opened the folder in front of me lazily. I am so bored of this talk. I don't want to entertain men. I don't want to give them false hopes. I can't do that. No, I have to go see my cousins, I replied. David inched closer. I can accompany you. I want to meet your cousins too. I gave him a narrowed look. I don't want you to, I said coldly. He raised his brow at me. You don't want me to? Why? I want to be close to your family. I gave him another sharp look. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to talk to him anymore. Even if I get a man in the future, I don't want him to be the one. Ha! Who am I kidding? I don't think I'll ever think anyone other than him is the one. David, you've been trying for the past couple of months, but I want you to know that I am not entertaining suitors now. I just want to focus on my career. I figured I have to be straightforward because I don't. I would lead him on and hurt him in the end. He heaved a heavy sigh. Heaven, I want you to know that I can wait. I really apologize if I'm a bother right now, but I just want you to give me a chance to prove myself to you. I raised my brow. He's cocky and now he's trying to act like he's giving me a choice. I may not have a lot of experience with men, but I know a player when I see one. And besides, I heard stories about him. He's a notorious playboy. No one can tame him. Well, I don't want to be the one to tame him too. I'm sorry, David. I'm not entertaining men right now. I already told you. I told him once again. This time, I had to reiterate it. He sighed and leaned on the backrest. Then he chuckled weakly. Fine, he started before setting his eyes on me. I'm not going to bother you. I'll give you time. If you've thought about what I told you thoroughly, I'll welcome you willingly." He stood up and left my office. I scoffed in my seat as I watched him open and close the door. I leaned on my swivel and closed my eyes. It's been 5 years. It's been half a decade since I last saw Sage. It's been 5 years that my heart is hurting. But then, I have gotten to live with it. Every single night of the past 5 years, I have been replaying the words that he told me, the sadness in his eyes as he let me go, as he let me have my time, had been etched in my memory that I don't think I will ever forget. When every single night, I have imagined him close to me. I have imagined him doing the incredible things he's done to me. But then, it shouldn't be that way. It would not be fair that way. It was me who wanted time for myself. It was me who wanted time to fix my life. I needed to focus on the things that matter more. My phone vibrated and I saw a text from Tracy, my cousin. From Tracy. "Don't forget our night out later." I smiled and typed an affirmative reply. Apparently, Uncle Henderson's children are nice to me. I met them after a month of meeting Uncle Henderson. I've met Tracy and Genius. They are twins and are 2 years younger than me. Tracy is a party girl while Genius is a varsity player in college. But nonetheless, they are both caring. They always ask me to meet with them and have fun. It's nice knowing that I have family who accepts me. Even their mother, Aunt Tricia, is nice to me. She even asked me to stay in their home when I left my apartment. Since then, they have helped me adjust into my new life. They even helped me pick up a new place when I got money from my job. Consequently, they organized a housewarming party for me. I've also met 3 more cousins of mine, Freya, Flynn, and Flora. They are Uncle Harvey's children, my mom's younger brother. When I asked them about my grandparents, Uncle Harvey said that they died 5 years after Mom died. I would have loved to meet them. My mother's side is not really a huge family. She had one brother and a cousin, and now I think I've met them all. I have also been into their company. I was so shocked when I saw the law firm of Uncle Henderson. Uncle Harvey's has his own shipping lines. They are all big time. I wonder what it would have felt when I grew up knowing them. I bet my life would be different. I wouldn't have been alone in the dark. I wouldn't have been alone in sadness. But then, I'm alright now. I've learned a lot of things from my decisions before that I think I am wiser now. I learned a lot of lessons that I think I am stronger now. After the meeting, I went home to change clothes before driving straight to the club. Tracy texted me. She said that they reserved the VIP section for us alone. I have been with them in the clubs. I have seen what kind of people are in there. It's not that bad, but it doesn't make me comfortable at all. I think it's because of the close proximity of my body with strangers that makes me uneasy. I must be suffering from a sage block withdrawal. I must be. Loud music blasting through the speakers welcomed me as I entered the club. People dancing up and down are seen on the dance floor. They all seem having a good time as their bodies wave through the music. "Heaven!" I heard Tracy's voice in the midst of the loud noise. She's sitting with Genius on the huge couch. couch. Genius seemed to be having fun because he's talking with some hot blondie beside him. I waved my hand at Tracy and started darting towards them. I sat beside her and she handed me a drink immediately. "How long have you been here?" I asked her. She smiled. "An hour." "I don't know. I've danced for about 4 songs." "5," Genius corrected before smiling at me. "Hi, Heaven. I'm so glad that you came," he said brightly. "Hi, Genius. It's nice seeing you too." I beamed. "And yes, I am so glad I came too." I laughed. "She'll suffer a tackle attack from me if she didn't come," Tracy chimed as the music changed. "Oh God, I love this song. I'm gonna dance." She squealed as she stood up and immediately ran to the dance floor. Genius looked at me and we both laughed. This has been our job whenever we're inside the club anyway. To watch out for our dancing machine Tracy. "Who's she?" asked the blondie with him. Genius smiled. "Carrie, this is Heaven, my cousin. She's an architect," he introduced. Carrie smiled at me before extending her hand for a shake. "Hi, I'm Carrie." "Heaven." I smiled as I took her hand. She seemed nice. She smiles brightly and I think she'd be a perfect match for Genius. But anyway, who am I to think about that when I know how notorious my cousin is when it comes to girls as well? "Aren't you going to dance too?" Genius asked. "I need a few more drinks before I dance," I laughed. The three of us talked as we drank. There, I have known that Carrie is Genius' classmate. They are saying that, but I know that she's not just his classmate. I could see that. Genius' hands are all over her and she's not even budging. After my 8 shots, I stood up and decided to go to the bathroom. I left the couch and walked towards the restrooms. Unfortunately, a long line was waiting for me. This is not what I signed up for. Ah, I could come by looking at his face. His stare is so intense. "I think I'm pregnant." "What?" I scrunched my nose as I listened to the girls talking. It seems like they saw a really hot guy and they just can't help but tingle in excitement. He's not dancing with anyone though. When Elena went up to him, he said he's already taken. There's no way Sage Otheus Black is taken. No way. I froze as I heard Sage's name in their conversation. So they're talking about him? He's the guy that could get this woman pregnant by a mere stare? My heart suddenly started to race fast. He's here. We're breathing the same air. My system is starting to get phased as I think of meeting him in person for the first time in 5 years. I went out of the restroom without even thinking. I can't meet him. No, I don't think I'd be ready to meet him. I walked back to the couch and told Genius that I am running an emergency. Tracy, who's been tired of dancing, looked at me with eyebrows shut up. "What? No!" She stood up. I smiled apologetically. "I'm really sorry, Tracy. I'll let you crash in my place anytime but I need to go now before I see him and be crazy about him again." Tracy must have seen the urgency in my face because she sighed. "Fine," she said, "but I'm going to stay in your place for the whole week after this." She beamed. I nodded and got my things. "I'm really sorry. I need to go," I said as I ran fast to the parking lot. I walked so fast that I didn't even apologize to the people I bumped into. I saw my car and was about to open it when I was wrapped in a warm embrace from the back. "Where are you going?" My whole body froze as I heard that familiar voice I have been waiting to hear. I couldn't move. I feel like my world has stopped spinning as he caressed my arms and pulled me closer to his body. Millions of sensations have once again invaded my system as his scent lingered in the air. It's as if I'm paralyzed from feeling all these different kinds of emotions. It's ironic, but I couldn't describe it better. "Where are you going?" he repeated. I bit my lip as I savored the feeling of him so close to me. It's still the same. He still drives me crazy. "Home." I am surprised that I still managed to utter a word in response. "Hmm." He breathed into my neck, making me gasp. What is he trying to do to me? Sage. I stammered at the mention of his name. "I need to go." I tried to break free from his grip, but he hugged me even tighter. "Now that you're a successful architect, can you stop asking for time away from me?" My eyes widened at his words. My heart slammed so loud against my chest. His voice is so soft that I think he might break if I shout at him now. "Baby, can you be with me now?" Desperation is very evident in his voice. Longing and sadness lingered in the parking lot. I swallowed a huge lump forming in throat. My chest feels full. I think I'm going to cry soon. God knows how much I wanted to spend every day with him. I want to be with him every second of the day. But his mother will never take me as a family. Not when the woman she wants for her son is my stepsister. And he's taken. He shouldn't be doing this to me. He shouldn't be getting this close to me. I respect whoever is the woman he's dating. I respect their relationship and I'm not going to be a hindrance in their happy life. "I can't," I said with my eyes closed. I felt his arms loosen their grip on me and I took that opportunity to get out of his embrace. I turned and looked at him in the eye. My heart melted with the look on his face. He looked broken and turned. He looked sad and hurt. "But I have to do this. I am not going to be a hindrance." "Why?" he asked as his voice cracked. I bit my lip, trying to take the tears in. I don't want to cry in front of him. I don't want him to see how much I missed him, how much I am longing for him, how much I want to be with him. I can't show him that until now. I am still irrevocably in love with him. I don't know if I ever will stop. I don't know if I ever will get over him. But one thing is for sure, I want him to be happy and successful. I want the best for him. I smiled at him, hiding the pain in my heart. "I am happy now, Sage. You should focus on your career too." I wanted to tell him that I have someone new. I wanted to tell him that I'm in love with someone else. I wanted to tell him that he should be happy with someone else too. But I can't. I can't imagine us not loving each other. I can't imagine any of us being happy with someone else. I want us, but if that's too much, then I'll settle on seeing him happy. I didn't give him the chance to speak. I rushed inside my car and started to drive away without looking back. I didn't even dare to look at the rear view mirror. I can see him watching me away, or that image will haunt me every night. I threw myself on the bed and cried the whole night. I don't know why I'm crying. In fact, is it because I knew he's taken? Or is it because I felt him there when all I wanted to do was the opposite? My heart is clenching as I cried myself to sleep. It's as if it is being squeezed by the force of the whole world. It's excruciating. I feel like I'm dying. When I woke up the next day, I could still feel the damn void in my heart. I thought I was good. I thought I could live through the pain. I thought I could get used to it. But thinking about how he wrapped his arms around me last night, all of my principles have gone to the drain. All of the defenses I built for the past 5 years, they've collapsed, broken down in a matter of seconds, shattered in a matter of a hug. When I was getting myself a cup of coffee from the brewer, I almost spilled it on my bare hands. When I was looking for what I would wear today, I almost forgot to get myself my undergarments. When I was trying to blow dry my hair, I almost got myself bald. Damn, how worse will my life be being affected by Sage Black? I walked inside the office and greeted the employees. They all looked at me like I was a different person. Or maybe because my hair is all blown away that I had to tie my hair up. I walked to the elevator and mentally cursed myself when I saw my reflection from the door. I looked like I lost sleep. It was not just my hair but my whole face. I tried to cover my swollen eyelids by putting on smoky makeup but it didn't work. No, not even a bit. I slammed myself on my swivel chair and started to work. I need to finish the designs for an upcoming project. Mr. Lopez, my boss, told me that I had to work harder this time because this is a huge project. It might also be the biggest in my whole career. I had to work hard. I had chanted that in my head since I sat here but there was nothing coming out. I leaned on the backrest and closed my eyes. I need to get going. I told him I am happy with my own career so I need to stand by my words. Well, it's true that I am happy now, but would that even compare to the feeling I had when I was with him? I don't know. I wasn't an architect but for some reason, I feel content then. I might have everything I wanted now but why do I feel like I am lacking something? Probably someone. I sighed and gave in to my temptation. I haven't done this in a while. But well, maybe meeting him opened up that part of my past. The part where I stalked his social media accounts. I took my phone and opened my Instagram. I searched his name, Sage Othius Black. I scrolled through his profile and saw nothing but posts about his whereabouts. He posted photos from Paris, Italy, Rome, Spain, Thailand, and other Asian countries. All of those posts don't have any caption. I continued to scroll down until I came across a picture of a familiar statue. I am so proud of you, the caption said. My heart slammed against my chest as I looked at the date. It was dated on my graduation day, and the damn statue was the one at the entrance of my school. I clicked on another photo and was even more shocked. It was a picture of me walking in the stage to get my diploma on graduation day. I was not alone in the photo as I was with all the other graduates, but I know seeing you smile, even from afar, completes my whole life. Again, it was the caption. Tears started to stream down my cheeks, and I immediately wiped them off with the back of my hand. What is he doing? Why is he doing this to me? I immediately closed the application and cried. I didn't care anymore if someone comes in all of a sudden. I needed to cry. For Sage, for me, for the lost asked, "Do you have the designs?" Mr. Lopez asked me as I sat down beside him in the conference room. I nodded and handed him the plates. It took me 2 weeks to finish this. It took me 2 long weeks to have it approved because I sucked. I was suffering from a sage black hangover and until now. I haven't recovered. David looked at me. "You look a little better today," he commented. Since the day I told him that I am not entertaining men, he stopped. I feel relieved. At the most, I don't want another distraction. Sage was more than enough to distract me. "Thanks," I said as I browsed my slides. I needed to present today. I needed to be in the right mind as I closed the deal. I have to seal this deal or Mr. Lopez will kill me big time. "This would be good enough," Mr. Lopez commented as he looked at the plates. "Damn, I need to focus. You should emphasize the recreation and entertainment area. This is our advantage," Mr. Lopez said, and I nodded even though I didn't understand why he would say that. David laughed. "Mr. Lopez, heaven will do good. You need to chill." He looked at me and winked. Damn, with the confidence David is showing, I am feeling more and more nervous. What is this? Why do I feel uneasy? Is it because I am about to deal with my biggest project ever? Damn! The door opened and I froze in my spot when I saw the people who came in. Fuck! Mr. Lopez and David stood up and greeted them. But I couldn't move. I was stuck in my seat as I stared at the man who's staring back at me. He's wearing his usual black three-piece suit that matched well with his deep brown eyes. What the hell is Sage doing here? Mr. Lopez was nudging me to stand up and that's the only time that I got the guts to move. I looked away from his gaze and bit my lip. I feel like I need to use my invisibility power now and escape. Fuck. "Good morning, Mr. Black," Mr. Lopez greeted in a hopeful tone. "Good morning, Mr. Lopez," I heard Sage reply in a hard tone. "Shall we start the presentation?" he asked as he pulled a chair and sat there. I shut my eyes and cursed all the curses I know inside my head. Damn! So, this is the reason why I am so nervous, huh? And how come I don't know that we're catering Sage Otius Black? Damn! I want the earth to open up and eat me alive, right now. I could die in my spot right now. My knees are trembling as I was setting up my laptop on the projector. My mind is in a daze when I think of presenting this in front of him. My heart is beating so erratically that I think I am starting to lose my senses. I shut my eyes and began to calm my nerves down when I heard Sage speak. "I've gone through the designs on the way here," he said, making me look at him. He's staring at me. I like them, in fact. My eyes widened with what he uttered. "Sir?" Mr. Lopez sounded so surprised that he lost his cool. Sage looked at him. "I want to approve the designs," he trailed. "But I think I need to talk to architect Campbell first." Mr. Lopez looked at me. That look where you know that you have to succumb to whatever the enemy is going to tell you. Really, Mr. Black?" His voice wavered. Sage looked at me. "Will you stay behind, architect?" I looked at Mr. Lopez again. I wanted to ask for help but he's arching his brows at me, telling me to agree at all costs. What? Heaven! Mr. Lopez called me when he noticed that I wasn't answering. You will stay behind with Mr. Black, right? Oh, damn! I shut my eyes before looking at Sage. Yes, Mr. Black, I said, and I saw him smile in his seat. Double damn, right? So this meeting is adjourned, Sage said as he stood up. It's nice working with you, Mr. Lopez. He extended his hand for a shake. Mr. Lopez looked so happy when Sage was offering him handshake that he used both of his hands to shake Sage. David also shook hands with him. They all looked so happy while I was here, trying to deduct a reason why Sage is doing this. Mr. Lopez and David walked to me after shaking hands with Sage and his team. Please do your best to defend your designs. We need this project, Mr. Lopez whispered. I nodded. It's not like I have any other choice anyway. You can do this, Heaven. David tapped my shoulder before going out of the conference room. I inhaled a heavy breath. I feel like all of my senses are leaving me. My mind is blank. My heart is racing incredibly fast. My system is almost shutting down. How will I be able to seal this deal if I'm not my usual self? Sage was saying something to his team before they exited, leaving me and Sage alone in this room. My eyes stayed on my laptop, silently praying that this is just a dream and that I will wake up and nothing like this is happening. But when I heard footsteps getting closer, I lost hope. This is not a dream. I am here, in one room with him. Alone. We are alone. Sage stopped when he reached my side. I bit my lip and slowly looked at him. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when I saw his deep brown eyes looking down at me like I was the only thing worthy of looking at. He doesn't even budge. Fuck. I am going to make a fool of myself right now. I know I will. Sage pulled a chair. Sit, Heaven, he said so softly. I swallowed and sat. Thanks, I muttered as I fixed myself on the chair. Sage pulled a chair too and sat beside me. He leaned closer to me as he looked at the plates in his hands. I glanced at him and saw how focused he is on the plates. It's been 5 years but I couldn't even see a difference in the way he looks. If not, he's even more handsome now than he is 5 years ago. Now that I am this close to him again, I can see how long his lashes are. I can see how perfect his eyebrows are. I can see how tall his nose is. I bit my lip and looked away. I shouldn't be admiring him in the close distance. I cleared my throat and collected my cool again. Where do we begin? I asked as I fumbled on my laptop. I heard Sage sigh. What? What does he think now? Damn it. I need to seal this deal. I can't think straight, Sage said. I looked at him and saw him smiling at me. A smile that doesn't even reach his eyes. What do you mean? Damn it, I should stop stuttering. He heaved another sigh but this time, he leaned his head on my shoulder. My eyes widened as I realized what's happening. What is he doing, Mr. Black? I choked as I tried to remove his head on my shoulder but then he held my hand, threading his fingers with mine. I could feel all my blood rush to my face as I looked at our intertwined hands. "I've just arrived from a trip to Taiwan," he said softly. "Let me sleep for a while, baby." I swallowed as I tried to calm my beating heart. I feel like I am melting at the sound of his tired voice. I feel like I am defenseless when it comes to a vulnerable Sage Black. I bit my lip as I called his name. "You shouldn't be sleeping here, Sage," I told him. He raised his head and looked at me. I frowned at him. "You should go home. Let's set this meeting some other time." He narrowed his eyes on me. I raised my hand and placed it on his forehead. My eyes widened when I felt how hot his skin feels. "He's burning up." "You're hot," I beamed. He chuckled weakly. "Thanks, I know that too." I rolled my eyes. Suddenly, all of the sentimental feelings inside me are replaced with feelings of worry. "You're burning up. You have a fever," I scolded him. He just gave me a faint smile. "Why did you even come to this meeting?" I continued to scold him, but he's not really listening to me because he's just smiling. Damn, did he have time to even laugh at me? He's already weak for all I know. "You should have stayed home and rescheduled." I was cursing under my breath as I started to fix my things. Sage held my hand and I looked at him. "Stop for a while," he uttered weakly. "Don't get mad at me, please." My heart almost melted when I heard his soft voice, but the irritation is still building up inside me that I can only think of the reason why he's so stupid. How can I not get mad when you're sick and you still came to this meeting? I reprimanded him again. Since when had business become more important than your health? I rolled my eyes and started to place my laptop inside my bag. "It's not that business is important," he said, and I looked at him. His eyes stared at me intensely. "It's you." I couldn't miss the moment that I could see you. I froze on my spot as I heard what he said. "What?" I asked in disbelief. "He should stop doing this. He should not do this. Why is he doing this?" He took a deep breath and tried to stand up. He tried to hold my hand, but I took a step back. I shook my head. "Why? You have a fiancé. You shouldn't be wanting to see me." The pain in my chest started to surface again. It hurt so much that I feel like it is being slain. It hurt so much that I feel suffocated by the pain. "Heaven," he called me softly. "Please hear me out." I smiled and shook my head. This is the thing about experiencing pain and sadness. No matter what explanation, no matter what reason, I will still be in pain. I will still be hurt. "It's fine, Sage," I said, shaking my head. "Let me help you get a cab. You can't drive now that you're sick." Then I turned my back at him. I should stop hoping. That's the only way for me to numb this excruciating pain.